Good morning, YouTube viewers. Clare here from Good Life Down Under. And I'm just going to do a little intro to the next video that I'm putting together because there's a bit of a gap in between Kev coming off trail at St Arnaud and me coming off trail at Old Man Hut that I felt like needed a bit of filling in. And Kev forgot to do his toilet talk. So I thought this is a chance for me to get in front of the camera and fill you in on a few things. If you haven't been following, we are doing Te Araroa Trail. We left Cape Reinga on the 19th of October 2019 and we arrived in Wellington, I think on the 8th or 9th of January 2020, and then we had to come off trail because we were working. So in November 2020 we went to the South Island and started at Ship's Cove and planning to get to Bluff in January sometime in 2021. So it was wonderful to be back on trail after a year off. We had a rough year, the pandemic of course, which New Zealand was very lucky really. We spent some time in lockdown, but the world had changed obviously, and I'd spent much of the year being pretty unwell and had to work really hard to be well enough to get on trail again. So we got to Ship's Cove and we had absolutely stunning weather right through the Queen of Charlotte Sound, and then of course hit Richmond Ranges, which everybody's a little bit nervous about, especially coming in on fresh legs. We had some pretty bad weather, so getting into Hackett Hut, my knees were starting to become a bit painful, but you know, you hear of people with knee problems on Richmond Ranges. It's a very steep area, it's pretty harsh on your knees, and so I kind of gathered that was just what was happening, and I started to down ibuprofen and wore some knee braces. Unfortunately, 2 days later at Old Man Hut, it became actually quite dangerous. The weather was pretty brutal, and my knees, first thing in the morning I was struggling to stand, and I was advised that I needed to call it quits. So in doing so, I was absolutely heartbroken. If you ever get picked up after being 8 days in the bush and all you have is the clothes on your back and the dirty clothes that you wear to bed, it's an experience. So I felt so embarrassed. I had layers and layers of clothes on because it was freezing at Old Man Hut. Ended up at the hospital, stunk, I'm sure I stunk. I felt so sorry for people that were looking after me. And then ended up at a girlfriend's place. Then the next day, talk about an example of what it's like, you know, people judge you by your clothes. I had my Crocs on, I had my girlfriend's far too big trousers on, I had my warehouse green ripped pencil case that I was using for a wallet, going in to just try and get a pair of clothes that I could wear. And it was very emotional. It was really tough coming off trail, and you know, it is all part of the journey. You can't plan how your trail is going to be. It will decide for you between the weather, COVID, injuries, and you just have to run with it. And I think part of the trail's lesson is actually learning to let go and realizing you're not in control. You know, you can control a certain amount, but the rest of it is just what will be, and accepting. You know, it was just really tough. Every fibre of my being didn't want to get in that helicopter, and I was in shock. I just couldn't believe how quickly things could change, and I just wasn't ready to give up. So I just wanted to fill in the little gap between there and the beginning of this next video. So basically, I was told that it was a loading issue, so the pain wasn't actually damaged, but the pain was severe. Where I saw a physio who manages endurance sports athletes, and he was incredible. I had a lot of acupuncture, and within 2 weeks I had no pain in my knees anymore. But he said, it's probably going to come back, and to take it slowly. He said there's every reason you could finish this trail, but there's every reason you couldn't. It depends on your pain threshold, and it depends how slow you're prepared to go. But he said he would advise that we skip Waiau Pass and start somewhere a little tamer. So from Nelson, we flew to Christchurch and then shuttled to Hamner Springs. It was crazy because it was sort of like doing a dog leg, but that's the way you have to go because at COVID all of the shuttles that went directly there had been cancelled, so that was fine. We were looking forward to Hamner Springs because, you know, it was meant to be after doing Whale Pass, and we thought we'll be able to soak in the hot pools and just have a couple of days of rest and relaxation. Anyhow, we got there and it was about 35 degrees, and the last place you felt like being was in a hot pool. So we camped. We had a wonderful night with one of our writers. Just fabulous people. They held a supply box for us. They fed us. I'm just here, actually. This is a bit disjointed because I'm doing a rat trap check on some properties. Show you around there. Oh, you probably can't see. I'll have to zoom that one in, but there are no rats. Then the next day he picked us up and he took us to the trailhead, and from there we headed on in. So it was with a wee bit of trepidation, of course, because I was terrified I was going to end up in the same situation I had been in. And it was just really testing out the knees, and I think we were both a bit anxious. Kid's forgotten his toilet talk, so I did this instead. So I hope you enjoy this video, and yeah, one of these days I'll show you where we're living. We haven't built, we're just camping on the land at the moment because of course COVID. Trying to build anything at the moment or get anything done is impossible, but yeah, she's pretty beautiful. We feel very grateful to be in such a peaceful part of New Zealand and peaceful part of the world. Anyhow, enjoy the video. Just thought you might want to listen to me waffle for a change.
Claire's just having a wee bite of chocolate. She's just winding into the trail and getting her legs back again. But yeah, we've just left and we're about half an hour in, and we've just come across this lovely tarn and beautiful backdrop. It was absolutely pouring in here just not so long ago, but we've got about 5 hours to get up to, what's the hut called, Claire? Kiwi Lodge? Kiwi Hope Lodge. So we're going up there. Apparently it's a really nice hut, so we've got something to look forward to. But yeah, we just passed this little town, pretty cool. So yeah, we'll carry on. You're a bit beautiful, just look at them. Hello, little fella. Hello. I just thought we're going to pop out soon onto some river flats, but I just thought I'd take a bit of a video through here because it really is just, well, I just called it an enchanted forest before, and yeah, it's quite beautiful. And we just stopped for lunch early. Well, not early, we had a late start because dear Kevin Whitelaw dropped us off at Hamner to Windy Point today, and he took us for a tiki tour and told us a bit of history about the whole place and who owned what and what old homesteads were there. And
It was fascinating.
It was absolutely fascinating, yeah, and he was very kind. So we've had a late start. We're going to talk a bit more about just where we're at, but anyway, the good news is Claire's back on trail. It's just nice to be the two of us again and not just hiking or tramping, I should say, on my own.
There is a variety of
It's a bit muddy in places. Oh, a freshly fallen tree, maybe even today.
Yeah.
I think we're one of the first footprints.
Are there any footprints in there?
I think maybe, yes, I think maybe, yes there are, so we're the second. But it was pretty windy yesterday. It was humming, Clare?
That would have been loud. Falling down.
And then hopefully we'll come into a nice mossy bit because there's a bit of carnage here. The land of COVID-free goodness. Feel pretty privileged to be able to just come out here and do this sort of stuff. Yeah.
That's not far from falling.
There's two rubbing together. There's one fallen and it's leaning against the other one up there.
When trees talk.
You reckon it's talking, Clare?
Yeah, I have to be a bit careful behind you because you've got to stick right here.
Oh, sorry. So you can see it's been quite a bit of rain this morning, so it's a bit muddy. But at least it's cleared. So we've just come out onto the river flats of the Hope River, and as you can see it's raging. So there was a massive downpour, so somewhere up the headwaters I think it's been pretty full on. So right now I'm glad there's a bridge before we get to the hut, because there is no way we'd be crossing that sucker right now. Oh yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah. So the old camera's getting caught up in the Matagari. So yeah, when we started this morning, or earlier 3 hours ago, it wasn't running this hard, but it's certainly on the rise. And that's how it's done on the TA.